A long time ago, many years ago, I'm going to tell the story, right? There was this um, a type of drug. It was a chemical that was found to inhibit a certain um, enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase. And this enzyme is something that makes cholesterol in your body. So everybody knew that cholesterol was really important, but this drug was really good and it worked pretty well. And this was way back when there weren't a lot of medications available for anything. And heart disease was really common, and they would find clogs in the clots in the arteries of the heart.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Heart webinar. I wish I had an applause noise.
Yes.
That would be good. We need a laugh track and an applause track.
Okay. So, Cheryl, do you have those fun things that you can do with your?
No, I've updated my computer and it still doesn't work. And they're like, oh, you need to update. I'm like, I've updated it.
You know what? And I'm using a secondary camera, so that could be part of it too. Dr. Saunders, what happens when you do a thumbs up?
It worked. My thumbs are fine.
Your thumbs are fine. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Leave it to Dr. Saunders. Not only is he smart, he's a comedian.
Oh, there it is. No, I have a raised hand. I don't have a thumbs up.
Well, so there is some setting. Some of you may notice, and actually, if some of you hop on camera later, maybe we'll try it. But so sometimes we're on calls with our team, and they'll put their thumbs up like this, and it'll do like fireworks, or there's all these fun little things that I haven't figured out yet because I think I got to change my camera, but it's fine.
They say it's automatic with your Mac software update, but like some of us have updated it and it doesn't work. Update Zoom.
Mine hasn't worked either. Okay, so I'm gonna quick get this loaded on Facebook, guys. Chat with yourselves here in the chat. Let us know who is here today. We're excited. Today's topic is about statins. We get a lot of questions about statins. What is this okay for me to take? Can I take these supplements with my statins? How does this affect my heart? Lots of questions. And so, you know what? We're dedicating this webinar to really digging into this and asking Dr. Saunders lots of questions, because that's what we do. What I would love is if you guys said hello in the chat. And then as we get going, I'm going to have you post your questions in the Q&A, if you wouldn't mind. So let me get this rocking on Facebook here.
Are you in a new location, Dr. Scott? I love the sign behind you.
Oh yeah, the same location. I turned around so that the window's in front of me instead of behind me.
Awesome. All right, I love that painting. So good. All right, look at all the people in here. Hey, we're getting a lot of our friends back. That means we didn't do anything too offensive, and we were hopefully kind, right? We're usually kind. David is back from Colombia, which we found out is not in the United States. So we did learn that a couple weeks ago. We have Tom from Eugene. Dwayne, welcome. Terry is here from North Texas. Butch is back. Hello, Butch. How are you doing? Valerie from Illinois. Ashton, here for the first time.
Welcome.
Awesome. Roy from sunny Colorado. Hey, that is great. Guys, I'm coming from South Dakota. And Cheryl and Dr. Saunders, tell us where you're coming from.
I'm coming from sunny South Florida.
Wow. It's sunny there. Yeah. I'm in California, in Solvang.
Yes. They always have the perfect weather, these two, I tell you.
I know.
It'll be January here in South Dakota, -40, and they're like, oh, it's just a little too warm for me to be outside today. So,
well, come July when it's 99 degrees, it's not necessarily perfect weather.
I'd still take that over -40, if I'm honest. So, but I do like it here. I can't say anything bad about it. I do like where I live. So it's all right. Dwayne is here from Canada. Charles says, hello to all. Have been with you now for over a year, a believer in all your efforts. Charles, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. We so appreciate you guys we're happy that you guys keep coming back. And you know what? We'd love it if you'd share this with other people too. You can send them to bartonwebinar.com. That's our hub, is what I call it. But people can register for these webinars for free and hop on and talk to Dr. Saunders. If you have a friend who you know is really looking to make some changes in their health, especially concerning their heart health or type 2, I mean, Dr. Saunders is kind of the best. So I would recommend.
Thank you.
Definitely. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm just going to let you know and remind you that Dr. Saunders is not your doctor. So the things that we talk about today, we would just recommend that you chat with your medical provider before you implement them. And we are going to talk about statins. So if you missed this in the beginning, we get a lot of people who hop on our webinars and ask about statins. Some of them don't necessarily know that they're on a statin. So we'll go through some of those medication names maybe, but then also chatting about what does that mean for your heart? And what does that look like? Can you take supplements with statins? And any other questions that you guys have about that? We'd love to hear from you. Post those in the Q&A if you are with us live on Zoom. If you're on Facebook, we will do our best to answer those as we go as well. YouTubers, hello, welcome. You can comment as well. We are hoping to read as many of these as we can. So let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Saunders, what are statins?
A long time ago, many years ago, I'm going to tell the story, right? There was this a type of drug. It was a chemical that was found to inhibit a certain enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase. And this enzyme is something that makes cholesterol in your body. So everybody knew that cholesterol was really important. But this drug was really good and it worked pretty well. And this was way back when there weren't a lot of medications available for anything. And heart disease was really common, and they would find clogs in the clots in the arteries of the heart. And they'd analyze them and they'd find that they had, fibrin split products and there was some cholesterol in there. And they said, oh, look, there's cholesterol in these clots in the heart, and then they would say, well, then if we got rid of the cholesterol, maybe we wouldn't have the clots in the heart. Maybe that's what's causing the problem. And so they did studies. They first did studies on rabbits. Rabbits are herbivores, and if you give them a whole lot of cholesterol, saturated fat, it kind of builds up in their arteries. It clogs their arteries. So then they said, oh, look, the cause of heart disease is cholesterol. And we happen to have this drug here, this chemical that will block your body's production of cholesterol. And so it just seemed the right thing to do, to fit the two together and make to prevent heart disease by lowering the cholesterol. So that started a big campaign, and which really worked well. Some of the best, the most prescribed drugs in the world are statins. And I had a cardiologist tell me that they should be in the water, that like everybody should be drinking statins. This is like the most important thing in the world. It's really interesting how the research has bared out and some of the things that are done to make it appear as if this cholesterol is really a big issue. But in reality, the cholesterol has always been a myth. That's not a real thing. If you look at even the larger studies, even the older studies, and you look at the risk of strokes, for example, it increases as you lower cholesterol. The risk of death increases as you lower cholesterol. Cardiovascular disease does decrease. So what they ended up doing was taking a tiny picture. So you have this big picture, this beautiful scene, and in the middle you have a red tree, and then you take a picture of the red tree and you say, look, this is what everything looks like, this red tree, the whole thing. It's all green all the way around it, but you don't see anything around it. You just see that red tree in the middle. And then they tell you that's the big picture. This little thing is the big picture. And it's not the way it is at all. So yes, cardiovascular disease does decrease as you lower cholesterol. However, death increases as you lower cholesterol. Well, why does death increase as you lower cholesterol? Well, there's a reason why every single cell in your body makes cholesterol. It is really important. Cholesterol is so, you can't overemphasize the importance of cholesterol. Your brain is made out of cholesterol. If you don't have cholesterol, you can't make brain cells. If you can't make brain cells, what are you going to get? Dementia. So guess what happens when you lower cholesterol? You get dementia. What else happens? Well, there are a lot of hormones. All your steroid hormones are made out of cholesterol. If you lower cholesterol, you have a concomitant lowering of your steroid hormones. What are steroid hormones? Well, cortisol, that's your circadian rhythm. That gets blocked. DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. These are all steroid hormones that support your body and support how things function. And when you decrease those, you decrease your ability to make those hormones. You also make some very important energy production chemicals out of cholesterol, like coenzyme Q10. So people take a cholesterol lowering medication and their coenzyme Q10, their ability to make CoQ10 is decreased. So their ability to make energy is decreased. So they end up with congestive heart failure, for one thing, which is actually a fairly common problem, according to studies done by a cardiologist in New York. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, the cholesterol is required for so many things in the body. If you don't have cholesterol, you can't make vitamin D either. Vitamin D is made from the sun. In your skin, you have something called dihydrocholesterol, which is then turned into a provitamin D from the sunshine. And if you don't have cholesterol, you can't make it. So there are so many important molecules that are so important in the body that come from cholesterol that you really don't want to lower cholesterol. And in fact, the relationship between like LDL and heart disease is kind of wimpy anyway. The problem, it seems, with heart disease is more inflammation. And so some people thought that, well, maybe the statins will decrease cholesterol so you can't make the inflammatory mediators. And it turns out that actually may have some effect on inflammatory mediators, but it's a tiny effect compared to like your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which we've talked about on this program. So what statins do is block an enzyme that makes cholesterol, which is necessary for every single cell in your body. If you take the cholesterol out of a cell, it dies instantly. There's no life without cholesterol. There's no cellular life, and of course, there's then no life at all. So you absolutely have to have cholesterol. Your brain is primarily made out of cholesterol, mostly, yeah. And then your other cells all require cholesterol, or the cell walls or the cell membranes are useless. They're not functional. So you have to have cholesterol. So then what do you do? I mean, why do we hear so much about how important statins are, so much that cardiologists are saying, gosh, they should put it in the water. This stuff is so good. where does all this come from? Well, if you are, the biggest selling drug in the world, and you have, multi-billion-dollar income, and you have a billion-dollar advertising budget, you can pretty much say anything. It's propaganda. And so you got to understand that everything you hear on TV, on the radio, on the internet, is being paid for by someone. Someone's paying for that. And so if you just ask who's paying for it, and you watch the ads on TV, and you say, gosh, how come 90% of the ads on TV are for drugs? Gee, why is that? Well, it's because that's how the drug companies get to be able to control what's on the program. They control the programming. They have editorial rights because they pay for it. And so you think of news as something like, oh, news, that's telling me what's going on in the world. No, not really. Infotainment is the other name for it. And it's really just advertising. And so if you think of everything on the news as, what are they advertising that for? And who's paying for that ad to be on there? And all of the, I was, one time when I first started my practice in Santa Barbara, there was a program, I don't remember which one it was, came to me. It was like one of those 60 Minutes programs, magazines, and they said, okay, if you pay us $25,000, we'll do a program on you and your practice and all of that. And I'm like, I don't exactly have $25,000. I'm sure it's a lot more now, but way back then, 20 years ago. But for me, that was a lot of money in those days. Anyway, so it's all advertising. It's all advertising. I could have put my ad, and it would have been on one of those with the magazine, and they would have said, oh, we're featuring this doctor who's different than other doctors and whatever. And it would have been a very interesting ad, I'm sure. And they would have done a very good job of advertising my practice. Anyway, so the point is that's how you can have so much advertising. And you know what? It's not about what you see or what you hear. It's about what you believe. So you're not paying me anything, and you get what you pay for, right? And so I'm going to tell you that I'm not getting paid to do this here. I'm not getting paid for any of this. I do this because I like doing it. And whether I do this or not, I get paid the same. Makes no difference at all. So here's the reality of the way the situation works. Cholesterol is a myth. And if there wasn't a drug for it, we wouldn't even measure it. It would just be a non-issue. Medicare would not cover it. They would not pay for it because there would be no use to it. And so they won't cover tests. It would be like an experimental test that nobody would care about. What would you care about instead? What could you actually do to lower your risk of heart disease? Well, instead of looking at cholesterol, what if you looked at fats? Fats, oil, fat, lipid. That's all essentially, that's the same thing, right? Oils are fats, are lipids. So we'll just look at that as a general. Are saturated fats a problem? No, your body makes saturated fats. In fact, every fat your body makes is a saturated fat, except they make some omega-9s, monounsaturated fatty acids. But those are the two types of fats that your body makes all the time. That's why they're not essential. You can make them, but you can also eat them, and it's not an issue. And then but the other part is getting hidden behind some other advertising is the omega-6 to omega-3 fats. Because if you have high omega-6, then you make what are called inflammatory mediators. And if you have high omega-3, then you make anti-inflammatory mediators. The inflammatory mediators cause clots and prevent clots from being reabsorbed in your body. So they're actually dangerous, and they're related to heart disease. So if you look at like the difference in cholesterol, like someone taking a statin, does their heart disease drop? yes, their heart disease drops, and they get about, well, it depends on the study, anywhere from 3% to some studies are like claiming 80%. But the editor for 18 years of the New England Journal of Medicine that published all these studies said pretty much you can't trust any of them because they're all what p hacking is what it's called. They're all cheating. These tests aren't real. But anyway, anyway, there is seems to be a decline in heart disease with lower cholesterol, maybe 3 to 20%. I don't know, maybe 80%. But let's just say that is okay. That's a real thing. If you change your omega-3, let's do omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Instead of being an average of like 10 to 1, if you bring it down to about 2 to 1, then that lowers your risk by 10 times. That's 1,000%. So that really makes a difference. So there's something you can work on. You can say, oh, I got to get my fats in line and get my fat corrected. And that is by getting omega-3 and avoiding omega-6.
What, is there any point with cholesterol that you do become concerned?
Not really. Well, when you have something like insulin resistance, the cholesterol goes up quite a lot and triglycerides go up quite a lot. Insulin is a growth hormone, and it's actually displaces IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, and the growth hormones tell your body to make more cholesterol. So you actually make more cholesterol when you have insulin resistance with this high insulin level. So it's not the number; it's telling you something. If your triglycerides are high, your cholesterol is high, then you go, aha, why is that way? Oh, I have insulin resistance. I better fix that. And that's an easily fixable problem. And if you want to know how, we have a webinar every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central. Yeah. And that we tell people how to lower insulin resistance. And we have hundreds of them if you want to go and look at the old ones.
We also have several webinars where we've really dug into cholesterol and the myth of cholesterol. So you can find those at bartonwebinar.com. There is a link to our YouTube channel, and this comes up so often, the cholesterol discussion. I want to talk about some of the names of statins because you guys make me pronounce these often on these webinars. And I've probably said them wrong, but what are some common statins that people are on?
Well, atorvastatin, I think, is the biggest. Rosuvastatin is very common. The Mevacor is not used as much. It's a weaker one. And one that a lot of people take and they don't realize they're taking a statin is red yeast rice extract. That is actually a statin. That extract has an HMG-CoA reductase enzyme inhibitor in it that is actually the same thing as, I think it's Mevacor. I think that's the one that it's the same as. Yeah, so atorvastatin is Crestor. Is that Crestor? Rosuvastatin is Crestor. Yeah, atorvastatin is Lipitor. Yeah.
Question, what other things make cholesterol go up besides insulin? So we have people commenting, oh, my cholesterol is high, which we know is not necessarily concerned, but what would make your cholesterol go up?
Okay, so another reason for cholesterol going up is when your diet. So they talk about like a high fat diet. It's not the high fat specifically. There's a couple of things. If you have a low fat diet and a very low fat diet, and you're living on vegetables and fruits essentially, you're not having any meat, you don't have anything with fat in it, right? what ends up happening is you have a very high fiber diet. So having a low fiber diet it raises the cholesterol in your blood. The fiber helps you take out what are called secondary bile acids out of circulation. And when you don't, you recycle those, and the cholesterol tends to go up from that. So dietary things, if you eat sugar and fat together, things like ice cream, fried foods, so French fries, chimichangas, all those fun things to eat. They are a combination of fat and sugar, and you put those together, and that helps to raise cholesterol by making you insulin resistant. And so your insulin goes up higher than usual, and so you make more cholesterol. That has a lot to do with it too.
Very interesting. Dwayne had said, how can we measure that omega-6 to 3 ratio?
Yeah, and that's it. Just do omega-6 to 3 ratio. And there's every lab does it. I send it to Quest or LabCorp. We have some local labs, and they all do an omega-6 to 3 ratio.
Okay, great. Terry's asking, is it okay to take coenzyme Q10 with statins?
Do you know what? That is very interesting. So Pfizer actually had they patented a drug, a version of Lipitor that had a coenzyme CoQ10 with it, so that you would be able to make energy so it wouldn't cause heart failure. And they decided not to market it. Now, I wasn't in that meeting of why they decided that, so I couldn't tell you. But they did patent it, and they decided not to market it. So I don't know why, but the answer to your question is yes, you can do that.
Are there any things that you know of that you can't mix with a statin?
Well,
maybe not like red yeast, rice, whatever you said.
Yeah, red rice, yeast. Yeah, red yeast rice. Red yeast rice. That would be one thing you wouldn't want to mix with a statin. Other than that, I don't know. Natural things like vitamins and stuff wouldn't be an issue at all. There are some drugs. There's drug interactions depending on because it's processed in the P450 system in the liver. So anything that interacts with that processing could be an issue.
Interesting. Okay, Tom says, well, you know what? I'm gonna ask this. Let's say someone's listening to this webinar, they're getting a little suspicious about the statin that they're on, kind of wondering, wait a minute, do I really need to be taking this? You are not their doctor, which we know, and we gave a disclaimer, but you know, if a patient came into you and said, I've been on the statin for a long time, you may want to check their cholesterol levels or whatever. And is it a slow process to get off of these types of drugs, or can you do them cold turkey, or how does that work?
Not necessarily. One of the issues is that cardiologists are told that once you start a statin, you can never stop it, and so it's like exceedingly difficult to get a doctor's help to help you with that. But the fact is, if you've changed your diet and you say, gosh, you know, I want to have like a normal fatty acid, I'm gonna avoid all the fried foods, and I'm not gonna eat any ice cream. I noticed in the chat people are saying that, oh, everything in moderation. I'm like, no, you know what? I haven't had ice cream in years. I don't know how long it's been. You know, there are things that just are not good for you and you should avoid. So if you've changed your diet and you're eating natural foods and whole foods, and you're not eating fried foods and processed foods, and then you don't want to be on a statin, you know, that's your choice. You can just stop it. There's no weaning process with something like that. You're on it, you're off it. If you stop it for a day, no big deal. If you stop it for 10 days, no big deal. If you stop it for a year, no big deal. Same thing.
Robert said he was told not to eat grapefruit while on a statin.
Yeah, yes, that's one of the P450 enzyme inhibitors that cause the statin level to go too high. So, because it doesn't break down, grapefruit blocks that.
Have you ever heard of Kawartha ice cream? Dwayne says, haven't tried Kawartha ice cream.
Must be a really good one.
I don't know.
Don't tell us about it. Don't type it out.
Ingredient, going down a rabbit hole.
Ontario company. Okay, I'm not looking it up. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm not gonna look it up. Okay. Okay, Roy said I went off my statins 6 or 7 months ago. Last week in my annual physical, they took my blood and said that my HDL was at 37. Is it mg over DL? What is that?
Yeah, milligrams per deciliter.
Deciliter. Okay. And my LDL was 165. And my doctor told me to go back on simvastatin. I listened to him, and now I'm concerned and conflicted. Are those levels okay for my age group, 71?
Are they okay? Well, your HDL is a little low. I wonder what the total cholesterol is. That would be interesting. You want your total cholesterol to be around 230 would be kind of the optimum range. So anywhere between from 220 to 240. So somewhere in the 230 range would be really good. Is the optimum level to prevent death. Not death from heart disease, just death generally. And then I look at the total cholesterol and then the cholesterol to HDL ratio. Those are actually the only two numbers that correlate with heart disease. The LDL really isn't a useful number to know at all. And so if you look at your total should be around 230, and then your total to HDL ratio ideally should be under 4 would be ideal, but under 5 is normal. So 4 point something or 3 point something. 3 point something is in the optimum range. And then so you can make changes based on that. So it sounds to me like in your case, your HDL is a little on the low side. And the way to get the HDL up, you can take something called niacin, which is a vitamin B3, which actually works pretty well. And you can also go on a high fiber diet. The high fiber diet helps you take out the extra LDL, and because the liver will use it to make bile acids.
I have an email here from Claire. I'm not sure if Claire's on. I should have checked. But Claire says, I have had palpitations for years now, which always pounded in my chest. So I am aware when it's happening. Since I took the vaccine, 2 doses, these palpitations are silent. I'm not aware of my heart going 124 to 136 beats a minute unless I check my blood pressure or my oxygen blood saturation levels. It's scary and quite dangerous. How can I overcome these palpitations? In the early 80s, I was diagnosed with MVP, mitral valve prolapse, and for years, I had to take all these antibiotics before and after dentist appointments. I moved from one province to another. I live in Canada, and I had to go to emergency for possible chemical poisoning, inhalation of carpet glue in the workplace. I advised the triage nurse that I have MVP. During that visit, I was thoroughly checked out. When the cardiologist came and told me I do not have MVP and never had it, and please stop saying I had it. For years, I was also on a bunch of heart medication. I'm wondering if that also contributed to what's happening to me now. Can palpitations be cured? Thanks for your answers in advance. I really appreciate what you and your valuable team are doing in educating the masses on health issues. There's a lot of information, so let me know if you need to.
That's a lot. Okay. So the palpitations are otherwise known as arrhythmia. I'm not sure what kind of palpitation it is. There are several different reasons for having palpitations. Some people get what's called atrial fibrillation, where it's an irregular and it'll come and go. It's called paroxysmal, where it beats irregularly and then it beats normally, and then it beats irregularly and beats normally. And it can go fast and slow. That's one. But another one is called supraventricular tachycardia, and tachycardia is just where you feel your heart beating. I don't know why that changed or why you don't feel it anymore. But finding out why you have that, what type it is and why it's there. Most of the time, an arrhythmia happens because there's not enough energy in the heart. And some of the medications can cause that. So things like beta blockers. Beta blockers block the hard contractions of the heart. And over time, the muscles get weaker. So even though they're used for arrhythmias to slow down the heart, that's what they do. They slow down the heart. So it's kind of like if you were to lay around on the couch for a while. And if you were there for a week, no big deal. If you were there for a month, probably no big deal. If you were laying on the couch for a year, it would be pretty hard to get up and start walking around. And that's kind of the way the heart will have to overcompensate for the weakness caused by the medications. There are other medications, calcium channel blockers, digitalis, that slow down the heart and prevent strong contractions. So can cause weakness over time. So yes, the answer for the medication part is yes. And then, but your big question is, what can I do to overcome this? We'll find out why you have it is one. And then we use some supplements and exercise to try to get the energy back into the heart. If you don't exercise, it's not going to work. So one of the things you do is just gradually increase your exercise. You exercise to tolerance and go, this is all I can do. And then after a while of doing that, after a few weeks of doing that, you go, oh, I can do a little more. And then you go a little more. And then after a few weeks of doing that, you go, oh, I can do a little more. And then you're just gradually increasing your ability to whatever exercise you're doing. If you're doing working out at the gym or doing a Pilates or certain yoga poses that you couldn't do before, now you can do, those kinds of things. Or if you're running or jogging, you increase your speed. So you're improving. And then what'll happen is your heart will start making more mitochondria. Something that helps that along is to get some extra of the nutrients that are required to make mitochondria. And that is the four we've mentioned. Coenzyme Q10 is often deficient and very, very important for making that energy. L-carnitine helps to get fat into the muscles because most of the time, Americans in the United States are insulin resistant. It's a very common problem. And so when you're insulin resistant, it blocks you from using fat for energy. Well, L-carnitine helps you get fat into the cells so that you have that for energy. But decreasing your insulin resistance would be very important if you have that. And then magnesium is really important. And then there's an unusual thing called D-ribose. Ribose is a sugar. It's sweet. And so who am I to tell you to eat sugar, right? Well, this particular sugar is a 5-carbon sugar. It's a little different than the sugars for energy. This is a sugar that's used to make DNA. So deoxyribonucleic acid. That ribo is a ribose, and that sugar is important to make the DNA. Well, your mitochondria have to reproduce DNA in order to reproduce themselves, and so they need that ribose. So it's just so that there's no blocks in your metabolism to make that extra energy as you're exercising and building mitochondria. You could take those supplements.
All right. Let me see here. I saw a message. Roy had said niacin is B3.
Yes, niacin is vitamin B3.
Okay. Tom said I took Lipitor for years, prescribed. I also took CoQ10 on my own. I lost weight. My cholesterol is down, and I stopped taking Lipitor. Should I keep taking CoQ10?
Not necessarily. if your energy is good and you're exercising and you're eating good food and you're probably not deficient in CoQ10. So yeah, no, I don't know that you would need it.
Right. A couple questions I see people are wondering about how to access our other webinars. Martin webinar is where you guys will want to go. There is a link to our YouTube channel, so you'll find like 300 shows that we've done where we talk about various topics. So lots of good information there, and I'll take that here in a second. Beverly said, oh, you know what? I want to do this quick too. Guys, if you would like to join us on camera, we'd love to see you. So go ahead and click the raise hand button, and then I'll add you as a panelist. Beverly, you just reminded me to do that. So Beverly says, I have had high total cholesterol with high HDLs, not LDLs, and an excellent ratio for 50 years. I also have fibromyalgia and have resisted statins. In December, I was told that my LDLs were creeping up. I will insist on the numbers next Tuesday at my appointment, but I would probably still resist statins. And I'm Beverly from Virginia. My A1C was 6.1, fasting glucose normal, history of gestational diabetes, but no sign of diabetes for 50 years until December. However, labile hypertension for 35 years, found you all in January, started diabetes detox, taking Synachroma and turmeric BP, have lost 13 pounds, but the doc will have to measure the other stuff, except I watch blood pressure with a wrist device. Still labile, but often lower and into normal range. Any advice?
Okay. Wow. Good for you. Good work. Because we are told for heart disease that the problem is the blood pressure, the problem is the cholesterol. Those aren't the problems. The problem is what you found out, that insulin resistance. That's the problem. And you're dealing with the insulin resistance. You've lost 13 pounds. You're working on it, and your blood pressure is lower. And labile means it goes up and down. Guess what up and down means? That's good. That means your autonomic nervous system is functioning properly to raise your blood pressure when you need more blood flow and to drop it down when you don't need more blood flow. So the problem with blood pressure is when it's consistently elevated, you've got a problem, and you've got to find out why. If it goes up, man, I can go up to 180. When I'm straining and I'm stressed and I'm doing stuff, my blood pressure is 180 systolic. And then, but when I'm quiet and relaxed, it'll come down to 120 pretty easily. So the point of blood pressure is not, does it ever go up? Everybody's blood pressure goes up. This is all really normal. I'm assuming I'm a normal person, right? Because I'm 280. I don't have. But that's not the issue. The issue is it constantly elevated? Okay, if it is, you've got a problem. If it goes up and comes back down when you're quiet and relaxed, you don't have a problem. It's not a problem. That's the funny thing about it. So then the other part is your cholesterol. Oh, your LDL is creeping up. You know what? That is more of a sign of insulin resistance, because remember, it's the insulin that tells your liver to make more LDL. So as you're working on that insulin resistance and getting your blood sugar down, then you'll find that the cholesterol will go back to normal and you'll be fine. So if you're concerned, 50 years of dealing with this, there's a test. If you did the coronary artery calcium score, CAC, the coronary calcium score gives you a number, and it tells you, well, how much plaque do you have in your arteries, in your coronary arteries? Do you have heart disease? And it's better as a yes or no and kind of more or less, but don't take the actual number as oh, that means this. No, it doesn't mean this. All it means is if you're around 100, you have kind of an average amount of heart disease. If you're 400, you have high, relatively high compared to other people your age. If you're in the thousands, you've got a lot of heart disease, and you got to do something about it quickly. If you're under 100, okay, you're 70 years old, you're under 100. Well, that's not bad, actually. So you don't have to really worry about it, but maybe just work on your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. That number gives you an idea of what needs to be done and how much needs to be done. Just looking at your blood pressure is not a good way of doing that, and cholesterol numbers is not a good way of doing that.
All right. I just saw a really good question I wanted to ask first. First of all, I'm going to say hi to Butch because I haven't seen him on camera for a while. How are you doing, Butch? Good to see you. Let's see here. I saw somebody ask, how can they test for insulin resistance?
There's 4 tests that you do. Do a glucose test and a hemoglobin A1C. So the glucose is that moment, that's what your blood sugar is. Hemoglobin A1C is in the last 3 months, that's what your average blood sugar is. And then do an insulin test, which is at that moment, that's what your insulin is. And then a C-peptide, which is over the last few hours or so, this is what your insulin is. So then you get an idea of the insulin to sugar and glucose. And that gives you a good idea of what your insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance is.
Awesome. All right, and I actually just posted those tests, guys. Right.
Yeah, we should have like do a program and like everybody submit what your numbers are for those 4 tests. And I will go through interpretations of each one. Oh, this means this, this means this. Oh, you have high this and low this. Oh, you have high this and low that. And then we can use those numbers and we can just like train everybody what it means, because to tell you the truth, doctors don't know. We're not taught that in medical school because there's no drug for it.
We'll have to set a date for that so everyone has time to get their tests done if they haven't already. So we'll do that. We'll have to work on that. Okay, that'll be good. And I know some people have sent them over, so I might have to read some of those. A better question, Tom says, is how do I know? Oops, I gotta change that here. How do I know? I lost it. If I need to take COQ10.
How do you know? Good question. I measure people with CoQ10. I'm really rarely find it needed. Most people don't. Most people don't have. They're not low in CoQ10. I have had a few people that are, and I've had to recommend that they take CoQ10. But one of the so here's where I recommend CoQ10. If you have a mitochondrial deficit, you should take CoQ10 just because you have a mitochondrial deficit. Why? Because CoQ10 is something that stimulates the mitochondria to increase. Well, how do you know you have a mitochondrial deficit? Well, a lack of energy, a lack of ATP, heart failure is a mitochondrial deficit. So if you're in any kind of like congestive heart failure issues or arrhythmias of the heart, arrhythmias are the first part of lack of energy in the heart. So yeah, any of those reasons, anything that can create a mitochondrial deficit, or somebody that has ever been on ciprofloxacin or any floxin antibiotics, because those kill mitochondria. So I always put them on CoQ10.
All right, let's see. Did any of the Barton supplements have niacin or B3?
No, not that I know of.
All right. Elmar says about niacin, yesterday I took a 500 milligram pill and had strong niacin flush for 2 hours. The pill controlled my blood pressure nicely. I had 123 over 75 at 5 p.m. and almost that low before going to bed. So I guess it was totally worth it. Overall benefits easily offset suffering from burning. But how much of niacin is too much? I'm thinking of cutting the pill into 4 pieces.
Oh, it's really interesting about niacin. You could take more and more and more and more. The only problems with niacin came about when they had this no flush sustained release niacin. There was something about that was causing liver damage. But the immediate release niacin doesn't do that. and people, if they tolerate it, some people like it actually. Some people like they're cold all the time and they take niacin, they go, I'm warm, I love it, and they're just happy to have niacin. And so some people, they can't wait till they can get warm in the morning and get their niacin flush. I don't know.
I don't know how. Okay, which for some reason we keep seeing your screen. So I got to turn your camera off. I don't know what it's. I don't know how to get it to stop. I have no idea. Technology, I tell you what. All right, hold on. I'll do that. Okay, so did it go off? It did not. I can still see it. All right. What other question do we have? Okay, so Ted says, can you have butter on your vegetables?
Butter on your vegetables.
Is that considered healthy, you think?
Yeah, okay. So I don't know. We talked about this last time about not mixing carbs and fats. But if you're eating, I don't know, I'm thinking vegetables like broccoli and spinach and carrots and cauliflower and kale. And I don't imagine having fat with those, like putting butter on them, is going to be an issue. And butter becomes an issue if it's something like a high carb thing, like if you're eating potatoes with a lot of butter, that's the fat carb combination. And that's so I don't think it's a problem with vegetables. No, you have mixed vegetables. Even if you have some carrots in there, they have some carbs, but yeah, it's kind of minor.
All right. That one. Okay. Lily says, can gadolinium harm your kidneys?
Good question. Yes, but that's a qualified yes, because you have to remember that toxicity is always a matter of amount. And so, people are injecting botulinum toxin into their faces all the time. And botulinum toxin is the most toxic substance known to man, I think next to methyl mercury. It's like microgram quantities can kill you, kind of thing. So what the heck? Why are these people injecting the most toxic substance in the world into their skin? Actually, the muscles beneath the skin. Well, the reason is that they dilute it so much that it's a really, really dilute toxin, and it just lasts a long time. So it can cause those muscles to relax for like 90 days. And so the muscles can't contract, and then you can't get wrinkles in your face because you can't do that. If you've ever seen people, they walk around and their face doesn't move at all. And that botulinum toxin. So gadolinium is another kind of thing like that. It's a heavy metal that's used for MRI scans as a contrast agent so that they can see certain things will light up, like cancers especially. Like they need that if you're going to look for certain types of cancer where the tissues have the same amount of water, because MRIs look at water content of tissues essentially. So the gadolinium lights it up and says, oh, there's something different there, like in the brain especially. That's a tumor, kind of thing, GBM. So then you've got to get rid of it out of your kidneys. Does it destroy the kidneys? Well, yeah. So, if you have compromised kidney function, you have to be really careful with not getting too much gadolinium. And they're supposed to, the people doing the tests are supposed to say, what's your renal function? How good is your kidney function? And if you have compromised kidney function, I go, we have to use a different contrast or no contrast at all, because that can be dangerous. So otherwise, with normal functioning kidneys, it should not be an issue.
I love this question from Lisa. Lisa says, does stress increase cholesterol? Also, are there any supplements that negatively impact? Okay, two questions. First one, does stress increase cholesterol?
The answer is yes, it can. And it's kind of a weird way of doing it, though. So it's funny how roundabout things work. So stress makes you have more cortisol. Cortisol makes you insulin resistant. Insulin resistance raises your insulin level and tells the liver make more cholesterol. So the answer is yes.
Right. And then are there any supplements that negatively impact the heart? She says, so sorry, my mom has CHF and post-stroke on Lipitor. Does the Lipitor cause heart failure or exacerbate it?
That's possible. Yeah, because Lipitor can inhibit CoQ10 production, which could increase the heart failure. So yeah, that's a possibility. And are there any supplements that can affect the heart negatively? Well, anything can be toxic if you get too much of it. And if you're taking supplements, we talked about this before in our supplement webinar where we were talking about doing different ways of doing supplements, like you take it for 5 days on, 2 days off, or some of them, if they're high doses, you take them once a week or twice a week. And like vitamin D, especially, they make it in 50,000 units. That's actually the prescription dose once a week. So a weekly dose of vitamin D, D as in dog. So getting too much of something sometimes means taking it every day. If you don't take it every day, then you can't get toxic on it. Well, on any of the water-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins, yeah, you can get toxic on vitamin A if you eat a whole bunch of it at once. Yeah.
All right. Oh, you're over time with Dr. Saunders. Okay, go be with your patients, Dr. Saunders. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
And I'm just going to mention again, bartonwebinar.com. Again, that is our hub where you can find all things related to these webinars. And I would just encourage you to go there because I see a lot of questions about people wanting to catch some of the other shows that we've done. So head there, you'll find a link to our YouTube channel. There's also our top most asked questions posted there, and Dr. Saunders answers those. So you'll probably get some good information. That's it for us. We'll see you guys next week and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.